Eli Varro had always been drawn to the forgotten corners of space. While other humans sought trade routes, entertainment, or the safety of colonies, he went to places where ships were left to rot, where the galaxy had already forgotten. It was in one such place, the void near the edge of the Valdoran Rift, that he first saw her, the Starship. She was massive, stretching longer than any vessel Eli had ever seen. Once a flagship, a symbol of a powerful multi-species alliance, she now floated like a dead whale in the endless dark. Her hull was scarred by meteors and faded paint, and most of her lights were extinguished. Yet, despite her neglect, something about her felt alive. There was purpose in her silence, a promise buried deep inside. Eli docked his small scout ship with practiced ease, the airlock hissing as it sealed. He checked his equipment, his toolbox, scanners, and a few spare modules. No weapons, he didn't need them. Humans survived not just with strength but with ingenuity, and Eli had plenty of that. The first step was always the same: get inside and see if the vessel breathed. The corridor was dark, but the emergency lights flickered weakly, revealing a hallway lined with doors to long-abandoned stations. Dust had collected in thick layers, and debris crunched under his boots. The smell of burnt circuits and old coolant hung in the air, making him wrinkle his nose. Eli paused before the central command deck. The massive doors had been sealed from the inside, likely to protect the crew or prevent the ship from drifting aimlessly. He pulled a compact plasma cutter from his belt and worked carefully. Sparks danced, reflecting off his determined eyes. He had opened tougher systems in junkyards across human colonies, and this was no different, just bigger and older. The doors opened with a groan. The command deck was a cathedral of alien engineering. Consoles with screens dark and cracked, holographic projectors dormant, and chairs coated in dust. At the center was the main control console, partially disassembled and abandoned in haste. Eli ran his fingers over the cool surface, feeling the potential that lay dormant. "Someone left in a hurry," he muttered. His voice echoed in the vast space. Or maybe they were scared. He activated his portable scanner. The AI core of the ship flickered weakly, sending fragmented signals that the human mind could barely decipher. Parts of the ship were still alive, some of the navigation arrays, a few life support systems, but nothing functional enough to pilot her. Eli frowned. Restoring her would be no small task, but that challenge was exactly why he came. Hours passed, and Eli mapped the ship's systems, noting damaged circuits and offline modules. He discovered blueprints of experimental weapon systems, plans that had never been completed. The ship had been intended as a war machine, something the original crew had abandoned before finishing it. Fear, perhaps, had stopped them. Fear of what the galaxy would think. Fear of their own creation. Eli, however, felt excitement. Fear was temporary. Curiosity lasted forever. He spent days repairing small systems, using a combination of alien components and human improvisation. When a broken console refused to respond, he bypassed it entirely, creating a makeshift interface. When a section of the hull threatened to collapse, he reinforced it with lightweight human alloys. Slowly, the ship responded. Emergency lights flickered to life. Life support hummed. Sensors began to record their surroundings. It was as if the vessel was waking from a long, forced sleep. Despite the progress, Eli felt the loneliness of the abandoned ship. There were no messages from the crew, no logs explaining why they had left. Only fragments, half-completed missions, scattered data, and the eerie silence of a vessel frozen in time. He imagined the crew leaving in a rush, alarms blaring, systems left half shut down. What had they seen? What had driven them away? He explored deeper, finding crew quarters that were frozen in time. Personal effects lay scattered, some still clinging to life support pods, others empty as if the occupants had vanished into the void. Eli touched a small holographic photo that flickered weakly, an alien family laughing. A pang of sadness hit him. He was alone, yes, but he was not heartless. Humans could feel, and that made them different. By the seventh day, Eli had revived a portion of the ship's main engines. They were small, functional bursts, enough to maneuver the vessel slowly. He practiced small rotations, testing reaction controls. The ship obeyed, though sluggishly, like an old animal stretching after a long sleep. And then it happened. A signal weak, scrambled, almost imperceptible. Eli adjusted the scanners. The message came from a nearby sector, a war zone, a distress call, fleets engaged, colonies under attack. The data was fragmented, but the urgency was clear. Someone, some beings, needed help. And the ship, his ship now, could answer. Eli's heart raced. This was the first real test. The first real reason the galaxy would notice this abandoned vessel again. He worked tirelessly, rerouting power, priming defense turrets, and calibrating sensors. He had never faced a live battle, but he trusted his instincts and knowledge. Humans had always been underestimated for their adaptability. That would not happen again. The corridor beneath the command deck shuddered as systems powered up. Lights flickered along the walls, engines purred, and a faint hum of life filled the starship. The ship was ready to move, ready to be seen, ready to fight. Eli took a deep breath and stepped onto the command console. His hands danced across controls, each movement precise. The starship responded, rolling slowly in the empty space. He felt the thrill of command, a connection to the massive vessel that no alien crew could understand. The ship trusted him because he understood her, because he had breathed life back into her. Then came the real test. Eli set a course toward the source of the distress call. The journey was long and perilous. Sensors picked up debris fields, derelict satellites, and the occasional stray asteroid. Yet, with human ingenuity guiding him, the starship dodged and weaved with surprising grace. As he approached the war zone, Eli saw the first signs of chaos: small skirmish ships, destroyed stations, and flames reflecting in the void. The original crew had abandoned this ship to prevent it from becoming a weapon, but Eli had other ideas. This ship could protect, could defend, and could remind the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. And somewhere, deep within the ship's AI core, a fragment of recognition flickered. The vessel had been abandoned, but it remembered its purpose. With Eli, that purpose would be realized, not as a tool of fear, but as a force of survival. As Part 1 closes, Eli stands at the command console, looking out into the chaos. The abandoned starship, once a relic of fear and neglect, was now a beacon of human determination. And the galaxy, unknowingly, was about to witness what a single human and an abandoned starship could do. Eli Varro's hands moved over the console with precision, each flick and press breathing life into the abandoned starship. The distant war zone flickered on the sensors, tiny dots representing lives in danger. He could feel the weight of responsibility pressing down, yet excitement surged through him. This ship, left to rot for decades, had potential beyond any human or alien imagination. He started with the engines. The propulsion system had been offline for years, the conduits rusted and brittle, the cooling lines clogged. Eli examined each panel, replacing broken modules with makeshift parts from his own toolkit. Alien components resisted his adjustments at first. They were designed for precision, for crews who understood them. Eli ignored their stubbornness. Human ingenuity was different. He saw patterns, connections, and possibilities where others saw failure. Slowly the engines hummed to life, a low vibration coursing through the massive hull. Next came the weapons. The ship's turrets were dormant, their ammunition corroded, their targeting systems offline. Eli studied the alien designs, noting their elegance and complexity. He added human modifications, faster actuators, simplified firing protocols, adaptive targeting that could adjust to unpredictable movements. The first test shot went into the empty void of space. The beam pulsed, strong and precise. The Starship had begun to awaken, not just as a vessel, but as a weapon ready to defend, to protect, to fight. Days blurred into nights as Eli worked tirelessly. There were moments of triumph, engines responding flawlessly, turrets aligning with perfect accuracy, and moments of frustration when a single misfiring circuit shut down an entire sector. Each challenge tested his patience and skill. Every system restored was a step closer to turning the abandoned vessel into a force the galaxy could not ignore. But Eli was not reckless. He understood power could corrupt as easily as it could protect. He did not want to dominate only to save, to prove that humans were capable of more than mere survival. His modifications focused on adaptability, speed, and strategic thinking, not sheer destruction. Finally, the ship was ready for a small test outside the safety of the docking bay. Eli guided her through the asteroid field near the war zone, dodging massive chunks of rock and debris. Every maneuver was calculated, every decision instinctive. The ship responded as if alive, engines adjusting, thrusters firing, and turrets tracking imaginary targets. For the first time, Eli smiled, not out of pride but out of connection. The ship trusted him and he trusted himself. As he approached the war zone, the sensors picked up small alien ships, raiders taking advantage of the chaos to pillage unprotected colonies. Eli could see the destruction they caused: crumbling stations, burning cargo, and fleeing transports. There was no time to hesitate. He initiated the defense protocols, guiding the turrets manually at first. The weapons obeyed, firing with precision, disabling the raiders' engines without causing unnecessary destruction. The alien ships were quick, but they were predictable in their aggression. Eli exploited their patterns, using the ship's speed and firepower to outmaneuver and neutralize them one by one. It was exhilarating, but Eli knew this was only the beginning. As the skirmish ended, he accessed the ship's internal logs, seeking more information about why the vessel had been abandoned. What he found was disturbing. The original crew had left not because they were afraid of danger, but because they had been ordered to destroy the ship if it fell into the wrong hands. A powerful faction in the galaxy feared the Starship's potential and wanted it eliminated forever. Eli's heart pounded. He had not only awakened the Starship, but he had made it visible to those who would see it as a threat. This was no longer about survival, it was about defiance. Humans, with their unpredictability and resourcefulness, were a force the galaxy had underestimated. Determined to stay ahead, Eli began enhancing the ship further. He added adaptive shields capable of redirecting energy, modified the cargo bays into drone deployment zones, and programmed the AI to assist in tactical maneuvers. The ship was no longer just a vessel. It was a war machine under human control, capable of responding to threats faster than any alien fleet could anticipate. Word of the ship's reactivation spread quickly among nearby colonies. Small transmissions reached Eli, messages of hope and admiration. Humans, they realized, could achieve feats that no other species could. But the messages were also warnings. Alien factions were mobilizing, intending to neutralize this unexpected threat. One night, as Eli rested in a small crew cabin, his own makeshift quarters, he studied the holographic map of the region. Clusters of hostile ships moved strategically, likely anticipating his next move. Eli traced potential routes, predicting their tactics. Humans were not just fighters, humans were thinkers. Where the aliens relied on rigid protocols, he relied on adaptability and instinct. He smiled. The galaxy had not seen what humans were capable of, and he intended to show them. The next encounter came faster than expected. A squadron of elite alien fighters appeared on the sensors, their weapons trained on the Starship. Eli moved quickly, adjusting shields and positioning the ship near an asteroid cluster. The aliens assumed they had the advantage, but they had not accounted for human ingenuity. Eli's tactics were unconventional. He led the alien ships through a maze of asteroids, using the terrain to confuse their sensors. Turrets fired from hidden angles, drones disrupted targeting systems, and adaptive shields absorbed and redirected their attacks. The aliens were skilled, but Eli's improvisation outmatched their predictability. Within minutes, the squadron was disabled, engines crippled, forced to retreat. The victory was exhilarating, but Eli knew it was temporary. The galaxy's powerful factions would soon notice the Starship and come prepared. Yet, in that moment, he allowed himself a rare feeling of pride, not for destruction, but for proving that a single human, with courage and skill, could overcome overwhelming odds. As he prepared to leave the war zone, a new transmission appeared, encrypted and urgent. It was from the remnants of the original fleet, those who had once commanded the abandoned Starship. Their message was clear: they will return, prepare for judgment. Eli's mind raced. The galaxy now saw him not as a human mechanic, but as a commander of a war machine capable of upsetting the balance of power. This was no longer just about saving colonies. It was about survival, strategy, and proving humanity's worth in a universe that underestimated them at every turn. He spent the following days reinforcing the Starship further, integrating alien technology with human innovation. He tested new weapons, refined drone coordination, and improved shields. Every success reinforced his belief in human adaptability. No alien fleet, no faction, could anticipate the way a human thought, and that unpredictability was his greatest weapon. Then came the final revelation of Part 2. While exploring a hidden sector of the ship, Eli uncovered the reason for its abandonment. A secret weapon module capable of immense destruction had been disabled intentionally. The crew feared its power, but Eli saw it differently. With careful control, it could protect countless lives, tipping the scales in favor of the innocent instead of the oppressors. As Part 2 closes, Eli stands on the bridge, staring into the stars. The abandoned Starship, once a forgotten relic, had become a living testament to human ingenuity and courage. Its engines hummed with potential, its turrets gleamed with readiness, and its AI awaited his commands. Eli smiled. The galaxy had underestimated humans. But that mistake would be costly for anyone who dared challenge them. The adventure had only begun, and the war monster humanity had awakened was ready to show the universe what it meant to be human. Eli Varro stood at the command console, staring at the vast map of the galaxy. The sensors now displayed multiple fleets converging on his location, alien factions of every shape and size, each with a different agenda, yet all sharing one goal: destroy the human who dared awaken the abandoned Starship. The stakes had never been higher. He took a deep breath. Humans were underestimated in the galaxy. Other species had rules, hierarchies, and protocols. Humans had instincts, creativity, and a will that could not be measured. Eli had proven that already, but now the test would be unlike anything he had faced. This time it wasn't small skirmishes, it was a coordinated assault. The first fleet approached from the north, a massive formation of sleek warships bristling with energy weapons. Eli analyzed their formations. Their movements were rigid, predictable. Humans thrived on unpredictability. He guided the ship through a nearby asteroid belt, engines roaring as the Starship twisted and turned with unnatural grace. Turrets fired from concealed ports, drones darted through the shadows, and shields absorbed volleys of energy with calculated precision. The alien fleet faltered, its formation disrupted by Eli's tactics. As the battle raged, Eli realized that brute force alone would not win. He needed to exploit weaknesses, and that meant thinking like a human. He remembered lessons from his childhood, from the ships he had rebuilt piece by piece: anticipate, adapt, and improvise. He directed drones to mimic damaged sections of the ship, luring enemy fire away from critical systems. He reprogrammed their targeting AI in real time, turning enemy sensors against themselves. The aliens had never faced this level of ingenuity. The first wave was destroyed, but Eli knew this was only the beginning. Reports from nearby colonies indicated that the alien factions were sending reinforcements. Entire fleets were mobilizing, determined to eliminate the human threat. Eli worked tirelessly, integrating alien technologies he had studied during his repairs with human innovation. Weapons were upgraded, shields strengthened, and new tactical maneuvers were programmed. Every modification made the ship more resilient, more formidable, more human. Despite the chaos, Eli paused to reflect. Humans were not born the strongest, the fastest, or the most intelligent, yet they survived in countless worlds. The galaxy overlooked one crucial truth: humans could adapt, learn, and overcome any obstacle. That was why he could command this abandoned starship, turning it from a relic of fear into a symbol of resilience. The Second Fleet arrived at dusk, as viewed from the ship's sensors. Unlike the first, this fleet was massive, designed for prolonged engagement. Eli's options were limited. Retreat was impossible. The fleets would catch him in open space. The only choice was to fight, and fight smart. He deployed drones to intercept the outermost ships, using them as decoys while the main starship engaged from hidden angles. The alien ships, confident in their numbers, charged headlong. Eli anticipated their movements, rotating the ship in complex patterns, firing from unexpected angles. Laser beams cut through the void, missiles streaked silently, and drones darted in and out of enemy formations. Eli's mind worked faster than any alien AI could predict. He calculated trajectories, modified weapon outputs, and adjusted shields in real time. Every decision was a gamble, but human intuition, combined with ingenuity, gave him the edge. The alien fleet began to falter, suffering losses they had not expected. In the midst of battle, Eli detected a distress call from a nearby colony under siege. Civilians were trapped, and the alien ships were overwhelming their defenses. Eli did not hesitate. Humans did not abandon others in need. He guided the starship toward the colony, using its massive hull as cover for transport ships evacuating civilians. Turrets fired with precision, disabling enemy weapons without harming the fleeing colonists. It was a risky maneuver. The alien fleet could have easily destroyed the starship while it protected the colony. Yet, Eli trusted in his understanding of human adaptability. Every move was calculated, yet fluid, combining logic with instinct. The colony was saved, and the civilians would remember the human who dared to challenge the galaxy. After the rescue, Eli paused to assess the situation. His starship, though battered, had proven its worth. The aliens had underestimated a single human's ingenuity and courage. Yet more fleets were on their way. The galaxy would not ignore the rising legend of the human who turned an abandoned ship into a war monster. Eli began working on new strategies. He converted cargo bays into tactical hubs, deploying drones equipped with advanced sensors. Shields were modified to redirect energy attacks toward enemy formations. Weapons were upgraded with human-designed algorithms, allowing the ship to anticipate enemy moves before they happened. Every adjustment reinforced a single truth: humans survived because they were unpredictable, adaptable, and fearless. Meanwhile, transmissions from the original fleet reached him again. They warned of an approaching armada, the most powerful force in the galaxy, intent on eliminating him and his ship. Eli studied their communications carefully. The aliens' overconfidence was their weakness. They assumed humans followed rules. Eli would prove them wrong. The armada arrived without warning, massive ships bristling with weapons and shields. The battle began with overwhelming firepower, aimed directly at the starship. Eli guided the vessel through evasive maneuvers, using asteroids, debris, and gravitational anomalies to his advantage. Turrets fired in synchronized patterns, drones harassed enemy sensors, and adaptive shields absorbed and reflected attacks. Despite the alien fleet's power, Eli's ingenuity kept the Starship alive. He predicted their tactics, exploited gaps in formation, and used every human advantage: intuition, improvisation, and courage. The alien commanders grew frustrated. Every time they thought they had the human trapped, he found another solution, another escape, another counterattack. Hours passed like minutes. Eli was exhausted, but the human spirit endured where others faltered. The alien fleet suffered heavy losses, unable to adapt to tactics beyond their programming. Eli realized that this was more than survival, it was proof of humanity's potential. Humans were not just fighters. They were thinkers, creators, and problem solvers capable of changing the course of events that no other species could. In the midst of battle, Eli made a bold decision. He deployed the Starship's secret weapon module, a system originally disabled by the abandoned crew. But instead of using it for destruction, he repurposed it to disable enemy ships, weapons temporarily, giving the civilians and transport vessels a chance to escape. The module worked perfectly, a testament to human ingenuity and careful planning. When the last of the attacking fleet retreated, Eli allowed himself a moment of reflection. The Starship, once abandoned and feared, had become a symbol of hope. Its AI responded seamlessly to his commands, its engines hummed with renewed vigor, and its weapons waited silently, ready for the next threat. But Eli knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had noticed him, and legends of a human controlling a war monster would spread quickly. Other fleets would come, more powerful, more prepared, more ruthless. Yet Eli smiled. Humans were not defined by size, strength, or technology. Humans were defined by their ability to adapt, to think, to survive, and that was a power no alien could measure. As night fell over the war-torn sector, Eli stood at the bridge, staring at the stars. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, yet he felt ready. Every challenge so far had strengthened him, and the Starship had proven that humans could overcome any obstacle. The final message from the original fleet echoed in his mind: "They will return. Prepare for judgment." Eli nodded, understanding the gravity of what lay ahead. Humans did not back down. Humans did not surrender. And humans, with courage, intelligence, and ingenuity, could face any judgment the galaxy imposed. With the Starship fully awakened and battle-tested, Eli charted a course toward the next mission. The abandoned vessel had become a war machine, but not for conquest. It would fight for survival, for justice, and to prove to the universe that humans were not to be underestimated. As Part 3 closes, Eli's mind raced with plans, strategies, and possibilities. The alien fleets would return, but humans were resilient. Every system he repaired, every tactic he devised, every life he saved was proof that humans could rise from the forgotten corners of the galaxy and become legends. The adventure was far from over. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to fight back. With courage, ingenuity, and the heart of a starship that had been abandoned but never truly lost, Eli Varro stood at the command console, his fingers dancing across the controls. The starship hummed around him, alive in a way that no alien vessel ever could be. Every engine thrummed with power, every turret gleamed with readiness, and the AI responded to his slightest command. The galaxy's most powerful fleets were converging, determined to eliminate the human who dared awaken the abandoned starship. But Eli was ready. Humans survived where others failed because they adapted, and he would prove that today. The first wave arrived at the edge of the sector, massive warships bristling with weapons, shields glowing with lethal energy. Eli scanned their formations, noting their patterns and weaknesses. They were disciplined, precise, and confident in their numbers. But humans thrived on unpredictability, improvisation, and instinct. Eli smiled. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, and he was about to show why. He rotated the ship, using its enormous bulk to his advantage. Asteroid fields and debris clouds provided cover, while drones deployed from hidden bays, harassing enemy sensors and creating confusion. The alien fleet adjusted, but Eli was already 3 steps ahead. He had learned from every skirmish, every battle, every moment in which the Starship responded to his commands. Humans didn't just fight, they innovated. The first salvo from the alien fleet struck the shields, sending shockwaves through the ship. Eli gritted his teeth and reallocated power, strengthening shields at critical points while rerouting energy to the engines for evasive maneuvers. Lasers tore through space around him, missiles streaked past, yet the Starship moved like a living predator, twisting and turning with lethal precision. Eli unleashed drones in coordinated swarms, each equipped with electromagnetic disruptors. The alien fleet faltered as their targeting systems failed, weapons misfired, and formations broke apart. Humans thrived on improvisation, aliens thrived on rules. That difference gave Eli the upper hand. As the battle intensified, Eli realized brute force alone would not win. He needed strategy, creativity, and the courage to take risks. He deployed the Starship's secret weapon module, a system originally abandoned by the previous crew. But Eli used it differently. He disabled enemy shields and weapons temporarily, giving civilians and smaller ships a chance to escape. The weapon pulsed through space, not to destroy indiscriminately, but to protect and turn the tide of battle. The alien commanders, enraged and frustrated, attempted to regroup. They could not predict the humans' moves. Eli anticipated their strategies, countered their maneuvers, and adapted in real time. Where alien tactics were rigid, human intuition was fluid. Every decision Eli made demonstrated why humans were a species that could never be fully measured or controlled. Hours passed as the battle raged. The Starship, under Eli's guidance, destroyed, disabled, or captured key enemy vessels. The aliens had underestimated one thing: the combination of human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. The human mind, unbound by convention, proved stronger than fleets, protocols, and alien technology. Amid the chaos, Eli detected transmissions from nearby colonies. Civilians and transport ships were escaping, guided by the Starship's drones and protective maneuvers. Every life saved reinforced the truth Eli had long believed: power without purpose meant nothing. Humans fought not just for themselves, but for others, for hope, for survival. Then the most dangerous fleet appeared, the combined forces of the galaxy's most powerful factions. Their ships were enormous, each a fortress with weapons that could obliterate planets. This was the ultimate test. Eli's fingers flew across the controls, rerouting power, adjusting shields, and deploying drones in formations more complex than any alien AI could predict. Humans had one advantage above all: unpredictability. The colossal ships opened fire simultaneously. The Starship shook, alarms blaring, but Eli did not panic. Humans thrived under pressure. Using every tactic he had devised, he maneuvered the vessel through debris, turned the enemy's fire against them, and struck with precision. Lasers, missiles, and drones created a symphony of calculated chaos. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Eli's human instincts guided every move. He anticipated ambushes, adapted to new threats, and improvised tactics on the fly. The Starship responded as if it were an extension of his own body. Every thruster, turret, and shield synced perfectly with his thoughts. Alien commanders watched in disbelief as their fleets faltered against a single human and an abandoned vessel. Amid the battle, Eli discovered the final weakness of the Armada: overconfidence. The alien commanders assumed humans were reckless but predictable. Eli exploited this assumption, leading the massive fleet into a trap among dense asteroid fields. Turrets fired from unexpected angles, drones harassed sensors, and adaptive shields absorbed what little retaliatory fire could reach them. One by one, enemy ships were disabled or forced to retreat. Eli allowed himself a brief smile. The galaxy had finally seen the truth. Humans were not the weakest species. Humans were not the smallest or the slowest or the least intelligent. Humans survived because they adapted, because they improvised, because they refused to surrender. With the enemy defeated, Eli charted a course through the remnants of the battlefield. The Starship, once abandoned and forgotten, had become a legend. Colonies celebrated from afar, sending messages of gratitude and hope. The vessel was no longer just a machine. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and resilience. But Eli did not celebrate for long. He knew the galaxy was watching and more challenges would come. The Starship had become a beacon, a force that others would either admire or fear. Yet he also knew one thing: humans would always rise to the occasion. They would face impossible odds, adapt, and survive. That was the essence of humanity. He accessed the AI core, reviewing logs from the ship's abandoned past. The vessel had been feared, abandoned for its potential. Eli had awakened that potential, not for domination but for protection. Humans fought with heart, with intelligence, and with courage. That difference had turned an abandoned ship into a war machine capable of facing the entire galaxy. As night fell over the sector, Eli stood at the bridge, looking out at the stars. The galaxies beyond were vast and unpredictable, yet he felt ready. Every battle fought, every system repaired, every life saved reinforced a single truth. Humans were formidable not because of technology or numbers, but because of their will, their adaptability, and their ingenuity. He set a new course toward uncharted regions. The Starship would continue to explore, defend, and inspire. Eli knew this journey was far from over. The galaxy would throw challenges, threats, and dangers his way, but humanity would rise to meet them. The abandoned vessel had become more than a war machine. It had become a symbol of what humans could achieve, even when forgotten, abandoned, or underestimated. And so, as the stars stretched infinitely ahead, Eli Varro smiled. The human who had turned an abandoned starship into a living, breathing war machine had shown the universe a fundamental truth: never underestimate a human. The adventure was far from over, but one thing was certain: humanity had left its mark on the galaxy, and the legend of the human mechanic and his war monster would inspire generations to come.